Hey guys, so last week we identified 7 different movement faults that your body may lose as far as range of motion or motor control that can lead to a decrease of performance or lead to potential injury or even be causing a little bit of pain for a pitching shoulder. And today I want to discuss how we can correct some of those. So this week I want to focus on shoulder flexion. Where shoulder flexion is essentially when you reach above your head, how well can your shoulder get above your head? So when we look at this, there's research out there that shows if we're missing as little as 5 degrees of shoulder flexion from the opposite side, you had an increased chance for injury. So what it shows is that each degree of limitation compared to the other side is actually increasing your chances of injury by about 9%. So each degree increases it by 9%. So that's a huge change when we're looking at trying to decrease injury, and it's also leading to performance. Where you can see this where it may mess up, screw up a little bit of your mechanical issues. If you're trying to get on top of the ball here, so shoulder flexion, or basically just trying to get your hand above your head, when you come in here and you're lacking a little bit of that buffer zone from full shoulder flexion, you start to get a little bit more of a lateral lean to your body, which then puts a little bit more stress on the elbow. Okay, so when I'm thinking about correcting these different movements, this may be out. Like I said, this may be out for you. You might be missing a little bit of shoulder flexion after each time you pitch. So you want to check it. So how I would check it for somebody that's not seeing somebody would be, you can easily just lay on the floor and then bring your hips to 90 degrees with your shoulders up towards the ceiling as well. And then from here, you're just going to drop your shoulders straight back. So if after you pitch, you notice that your throwing shoulder is up a little bit off the ground, especially compared to your other side, this may be one area that you want to focus your time on for recovery before you get out to before you start the next outing, or even before you pitch your next outing. So when I think about recovery, when I think about restoration of your movement qualities, the first thing I want to hit is a little bit of soft tissue. When I'm thinking about shoulder flexion, a lot of times I'm thinking maybe lats are restricting you. So the order that I typically have clients go through or have my athletes go through is a little bit of soft tissue, a little bit of flexibility, and then motor control. So teaching your body how to reuse that new range of motion that you just gained. So for soft tissue, what I'm thinking about is a little bit of a foam roller or using a medicine ball to kind of help get that soft tissue back to full strength. So kind of like get that flush, get back to a good flow, a good soft tissue quality. So what I like to do is grab a medicine ball, and then you're just going to kind of roll back and forth on the side until you can kind of find just a trigger point. And you're going to go from the back side of the shoulder too. So if I'm from the side, you're going to go right back here, and then bring your arm kind of from 90 degrees out to the side to above your head. So you're just going to come from side to overhead. So find that trigger point, roll it back and forth, hold on that trigger point, and then from the side, what you can do is just kind of reach, palm up, and then lift your arm up off the ground. What that's doing is it's restoring that tissue quality that you just went down after throwing. So throwing is hard, throwing is vicious. We're trying to restore that tissue quality. So find a few trigger points, lift your hand up, and then move on to the next trigger point. You're going to spend about a minute to 2 working on one specific muscle. Good. Okay. So the next thing that I think about once we go from soft tissue quality is we got to elongate the muscle. We got to make it bigger. We got to make it longer. So the way I think about that is what you would typically think of as just stretching. So the one thing I like to do, it's called a land shark, is get a foam roller where it's about shoulder width apart, or anything that you can find that can get shoulder width apart. And then find a surface that you can kneel right next to. And then you're going to go, so hands along that object, elbows about shoulder width apart, and your hands are going to be off the table. From here, what I want you to do is bring your belt buckle to your ribs and then sit straight back so that you're trying to essentially get your elbows above your head. So you're going to come back and come back up. So you're going to do that for a few reps, anywhere between 8 to 10. So belt buckle to your ribs, sit back, And then you should feel a stretch kind of right here in the lats again. And then just to make sure that you can get a little bit more depth in it, you're just going to you're going to hold it for a breath. And as you breathe out, try to sink down just a little bit more. Okay. So from there, what I'm going to do is I want to start in a laying down posture and kind of go into what we think of like the rotator cuffs, or a little bit of an endurance based exercise. They're there for stability. They're trying to offload the other muscles around the shoulder so that shoulder can stay in the proper alignment. So what I'm going to do is I like to use a band. You can use a J band if you have it, and attach one end to your feet. So from your feet, those bands are just going to be around it, and then you're going to grab the band up at the top. From here, lay on the ground, and then just let your shoulders kind of relax so that all your arms or both your arms are on the ground. Just sink your shoulders into place and try to keep your low back on the ground too. What this band is doing is kind of giving you a little bit of feedback to see if your shoulders are properly aligned or if they're actually trying to stabilize in a not a fully flexed position. So let it kind of just sink down onto the ground and hang out here for about a minute and a half. This is really working on the stability of your shoulder and helping the rotator cuffs at work. So like I said, just hang out here for about a minute and a half, and then you're going to come back out of that. So from there, what I like to do is progress a little bit more so that you're going to get some weight through your hands. So the best way I like to do this is through a closed kinetic chain stability exercise, which just means your hands are fixated on the ground. My favorite exercise for this is downward dog, and making sure that we're getting into proper positioning. So how I start off here, I'm going to go hands and knees, and then I'm going to get into a power position. So what that means is I'm going to arch my low back, so ribs or hips to my ribs again, and then kind of hold that there for a little bit, and then relax. So I'm going to get there again, and so low back up, come off your knees into a bear crawl, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the ground away to push my butt up in the air, and this is going to get into shoulder flexion. So from here, it's going to be arch the low back, knees up off the ground, hold that stomach in position, and push the ground away to get your butt up in the air. So from here, your shoulders are in a flexed position, and you've got some weight through there. So you're starting to be able to load the joint, and it's gonna give your shoulders a little bit of proprioceptive feedback. So feedback to show where shoulder flexion is. So again, arch the low back, come up off your knees, push the ground away, drive your heels down in the ground, hold it for a breath, and then come back down. So from there, we should have restored most of that shoulder flexion from just those few exercises. So what I like to do as kind of a end game one here is get the hand loose or get the hand off the ground and control the very end range of flexion. So what I call this is a reach, roll, and lift. What you're going to do is going to start on your sitting back on your heels, and you're just it's going to in its name, it's going to reach, roll, and lift, but you're going to be in a very flexed position, so you're going to get that end range of shoulder flexion. So you're going to start hands and knees, bring your non-throwing hand and make a fist, and your forehead's going to be on here. So from here, I'm going to reach as far as I can, and that's going to be shoulder flexion. And then I'm going to roll as much as I can so that my palm is up to the ceiling. And then without bending my elbow, I'm going to lift my hand up off the ground. One big thing I don't want is I don't want any upper trap involvement. So this should all be kind of this lower trap feeling in your mid back. So if you're starting to get a little upper trap here, this may be a little bit too aggressive for you to start with. So looking at it again, you're going to reach, you're going to roll, so palm up, elbow stay straight so you're not getting too much bicep control. You're going to lift your arm up with your mid back. So you're going to be here, you're going to reach, roll, and lift, and then relax. You're just going to perform a few of those. Okay? So guys, give those a try. If you realize that you're missing any type of shoulder flexion after you pitch, check the position on the ground where you're trying to get your arm to the ground. And if you are losing that, try some of these exercises out to see if you can regain that shoulder flexion and recheck again before you make your next start. All right, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but give these a try. Thanks, guys.